Hey everybody, Matt Barton here with this week's Broker Minute or Two. Want to cover two quick items with you. The first one is going to be all of the buzz in the news about the Morrill and Sitzer, Missouri lawsuit that was ruled on yesterday. And then secondly, I want to talk about our listings and purchasing our own listings. All right, so the first one. I was listening to a Jared James email in regards to this, and I really liked his counsel. I've got it on my other screen here, and he has 4 points. He goes in more detail, but he says, relax. When others get crazy, make sure you don't. And I want to stop there for a second. If you're one of these people that is bored for entertainment and you go on Facebook groups, real estate Facebook groups or Instagram and listen to people who in most cases don't know what they're talking about and acting as if they do, you're doing yourself a disservice. Don't get into the echo chamber and listen to all the negativity. It tends to drag you down, and the people, generally speaking, don't know what they're talking about. And this will be a good example. The second point, he says, be a pro, know how to communicate your value to buyers. Third one, follow strategies daily to get listings to be control of your local market. And fourth, breathe and protect your peace. Don't buy into all of the hype. This particular lawsuit, it's important to remember, it's a state lawsuit. It's in the state of Missouri. It doesn't immediately have ramifications nationwide. I have agents calling me, what do I need to do now? So you don't need to do anything. The defendants on this lawsuit have already telegraphed that they're going to appeal this, so it is far from a foregone conclusion. How many times have you read things in the news where a lower court rules a certain way, and then on appeal, either at the appellate court or even all the way up to the Supreme Court, things get reversed? So let's wait until the game is actually played, till we know where we actually land on this. Having said that, all the things that he said are absolutely correct. We should always be sharpening the saw, establishing our value with our clients, do a good job, be full disclosure. Here's the interesting thing. With this lawsuit, one of the components is MLSs can't mandate that there be a BAC. That's fine. Would that really change our business? Most sellers who need to sell know that there has to be some motivation out there to all the buyer's agents out there. And so even though it won't be mandated, my guess, and it's just that, is that we will still have a fair chunk of BACs if and when this lands in favor of the plaintiffs. So everybody take a breath, protect your peace. All right, on to the issue today, the contractual issue I wanted to cover. When we as listing agents, or just realtors in general, in the course of our business, we often discover properties that we like. If or I could be in a situation where I want to sell my own house. The division starts with this general premise that, hey, if you're the professional and you're involved as a principal in the transaction, buyer or seller, the other side has the right to know that they're dealing with a pro and they're at a little bit of a disadvantage and they might want to get a pro themselves. So that's the starting point. But the language gets more specific when it comes to me as a listing agent saying, hey, that guy that I listed his property, that might make sense for me to buy. I'm going to bring up the rule here so everybody sees it. So in this red box, right, and these are my notes, you can't buy your own listings, even if the buyer is an entity that you have ownership interest. So here's the exact rule. And all this stuff in red is the section in the division of real estate is the thou shalt not as a licensee. That's why it's in red. Okay, act or attempt to act as a limited agent in any transaction in which the licensee is a principal in the transaction, or any entity in which the licensee is an officer, director, partner, member, manager, employee, stockholder, is a principal in the transaction. So whether it's you named specifically or your LLC or some LLC that you have just some ownership in, it's still the same rule, and it's ironclad and it's unequivocal. If it's your listing, you cannot do it. Okay, I want to start off with that being very definitive. Okay, and the reason being is there's just an inherent conflict of interest, right? If you, on the one hand, if you sign a listing, you say that your fiduciaries are doing the best interest of your client, right? And confidentiality and loyalty and all those other things. And when you become the buyer, you can't actually fulfill those fiduciaries. And that's why the division has a huge problem with this. Okay, so what can you do? You actually can find ways to navigate this, but it is important that you follow the sequence. The first one is, before you put a reps in, right, make sure you cancel your listing. I mean, that's one of two steps. Or you transfer it to another agent or a broker, so you are no longer the listing agent, and then they have the fiduciaries of confidentiality and all those other things that come along with it, loyalty and doing what's in the best interest of the client. All right. If you do that at that point, then you're in the clear and you can pursue a listing. And quite often in this market, it happens where we have a listing and our sellers eventually get to a point like, you know what, I'm going to reduce the price, and they reduce it to a price point and we're like, hey, that might make sense for my portfolio. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure at that point, if you start going down that path, and the key word is start going down the path, don't go and negotiate your REPSI and get it signed and executed and then come back and say, well, now I'm going to cancel my listing. It doesn't work that way. The division says you took advantage of the agency relationship while it was in place, while you were negotiating in your benefit. So make sure you cancel or transfer first, then you negotiate your REPSI. And you can do that. So I just want to make sure we're clear on what the process is. If you have agency in place, you can't do it. The rules are very specific. But if you cancel your ERS or transfer it, then you can go forward as an agent in the company. Just make sure you have limited agency between the two brokers. At the broker level, the two agents are independent. They're not limited, but the broker is. So, all right. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a great week.